definitely a 6-figure sort of investment that you're going to be making into this process. Now, it can range quite a bit depending what point you're coming in. Are you going to still have to create embryos, things like that? Because you're going to have outside medical expenses from just what agency fees and things look like. Cost, and when I always say a rough estimate, it can literally be from $140,000 to $200,000 plus, especially once again, when you consider how you're creating embryos. Are you using a donor? And also then when you look at everything else involved, then when you get to agency level, you have agency fees, you have surrogate compensation, legal fees, medical insurance, contingencies that, that you're maybe not planning for, that you're going to have to think about. So there's a lot that goes into that cost. It's always funny when I speak to people because cost is obviously where I get the most questions. Some people will get a pretty good estimate from Google and ChatGPT these days, but it may only include a portion of what that is. So just compensation alone, for a first-time surrogate can be $70,000 plus when it's all said and done, when you come to the end of your journey. And some people say, well, I thought it would only cost $70,000 to $90,000. I said, that would just be that one component, but you have to factor in everything. So when you start, that's why I always like to talk cost through, because it's just, there's so many different parts that go into that cost to make up that whole number. So, and that's really what people need to understand.
Normally catches somebody off guard, something that they didn't even see coming.
Some people don't realize that compensation for a surrogate sort of happens in real time as she goes through certain milestones, or, the pregnancy itself, even her base compensation, that's paid out in monthly installments when she's actually pregnant. They don't realize all the cost factors that go into that. And of course, then if you add on, well, maybe she had more bed rest than expected, or, all these things, it gets very confusing for people. They're like, oh, wow, I didn't think about all that. I just figured she got a base compensation and that's all said and done. And then that, and also insurance. A lot of people don't understand the insurance side of things. Even if she has insurance, how it works, how all that happens. And a lot of people do assume they can use their own personal insurance to cover the surrogate pregnancy. A lot of people thinking that's how that works, but we really have to look at the surrogate's insurance, because that's going to be the determining factor of what that's going to look like financially. Either she has insurance or she doesn't. We're going to have to look at that to see, okay, is it surrogate friendly at that point? Everyone will have their own personal insurance. It's whether or not we can use it for a surrogate pregnancy at that point.
I mean, I've been doing this now 18 years, and in 18 years, I've only had one set of intended parents whose insurance policy covered the surrogate's medical care during the pregnancy. And that was 1 in 18 years. And they had a very unique medical situation. They had a very unique insurance policy. It is not common whatsoever for somebody's insurance to cover the surrogate's pregnancy. Now, there are fertility benefit programs that will help cover cost for surrogacy, but that cost might be, they're going to cover some of the agency fees, or they'll cover some of the professional fees, or, they might cover something at the fertility clinic. But it is very, very rare that they're going to cover anything as far as the surrogate's compensation. And just as rare is that they're going to cover the surrogate's actual pregnancy for the entire pregnancy. It's like an anomaly.
And I mean, when you think about it, it does make sort of sense to people like, well, this person's carrying my child and my child would be going on to my insurance. And they assume that, I think, is the biggest thing where they're like, oh, okay, wow, I didn't even think about it. Because a lot of people do assume that they could put their surrogate onto their own personal insurance during the actual pregnancy itself. So that's a big misconception for sure. And I get a lot of questions regarding that insurance, and then also how the compensation works. And if things are to happen, what that looks like. Just really going through those things. And also how we're paying this out, and how do I start to financially plan this out too? Because not only does surrogacy take patience, but it does take almost a financial planning aspect for sure, to get through this.
Well, I think that's probably one of the biggest things is people call around to find out the process and all of that. But one of the biggest pieces is getting with financial planner to kind of plan through what that cost is going to be, and have the contingencies also in place, because you just never know. Be able to then also be prepared emotionally for all of the things that could happen. And, luckily there's thousands of journeys that happen throughout the year, and the majority of them are good, but there are some that it doesn't work out. It just, you've gone through it, you've used all the embryos that you have, you don't have any more embryos, you're running out of money, and like, what are your options? And now you're stuck.
That's the thing that I don't like too about a lot of this gimmicky sort of marketing out there where they say you're guaranteed to bring a baby home and things like that. There's no guarantees in this. You can definitely have hope. You come in, having patience about the process, but at the same time, there's no guarantee of anything. That's the unfortunate side of things. So all you can do is sort of just overestimate, overplan it,